Welcome back. The saga continues. As you can see, I am no longer wearing that big coat. I'm wearing a different one, more of a jacket, really. My old attire. The weather has improved quite a bit, and it looks like it's going to continue to improve. Today it's 15, that's Celsius. I don't want to have to do the math. I'm not sure what that is. Comfortable, I guess I should say. It's that the weather is comfortable, and it's going to improve. I do know my wife was saying later on in the week it's going to get up to 73. That's Fahrenheit. Don't worry, we're not going to be cooking out here. The sun isn't broken or anything, so don't worry. I believe that's around 20 degrees, somewhere around there. Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Boy, I'm getting myself confused now. That's why I didn't want to have to do that calculation. But let's see, updates today. The numbers continued. I mean, of course, there's an increase in the numbers, but the amount of the increase has diminished outside of Hubei province. Inside Hubei province, it's more of the same, basically. Now, I am hearing a lot from other people in the comments and as well as in videos and on Twitter and that sort of thing, saying that the numbers aren't real, that the Chinese government is making it up, and they've given quite a few good reasons. And yeah, I could see that in some cases maybe some officials somewhere would make up some numbers because they don't want the central government to get involved. But I think that they will probably be watching what's happened to the government officials in Hubei province who have been replaced. And that might be a bit more of a threat than having the central government come and get involved. They don't want to get replaced. Or if they end up taking the fall for the whole situation, executed, which happens here in China. That's right. Here in China, if something goes wrong, let's say you're in charge of whatever part of the government is responsible for making pet food, and suddenly pets start dying from the pet food in the United States or wherever they're shipping the pet food to, guess what? You might end up in front of the firing squad. And this is much worse than the pets dying, believe me. So those people in Wuhan, I can't say for sure what their fate is, but I can tell you it's probably not going to be good. The Hubei people that got replaced, yeah, their fate is probably, I'm sure they know their fate. It's not going to be good. And that's kind of how it works here in China. So I'm sure that they're looking at that and they're saying, I don't think we want to end up like that. Let's not make up any numbers. And I'm pretty sure that's why they've been so afraid to open up the roads. But it's creating quite a predicament because maybe people are looking at this and thinking, you know, hey, we defied the central government and, well, nothing happened. That kind of gives people an idea that they can rebel against I don't want to be careful with my words there, that they don't always have to listen to the central government. And in a very centralized authoritarian society, well, that doesn't work well for for things to continue to function. So I don't know. We'll see. I have to wait and see what the people in Beijing are going to do to bring things under control again. But so far, from what I can see, things are quite out of control. I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about that or not, but well, here I am in China. These are my observations as a foreigner, and from what I have known China to be in the past, things are quite out of control. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, people are going crazy in the streets and there's, you know, marauders going around and people are coming out of the forest to steal things, and that's not happening, at least not here. But I am hearing some very surprising things from in Wuhan. I saw a video clip from a news article, and there was an older lady, like my mother-in-law's age, screaming about revolution, which is, I mean, of all the things you could say, you have to, I mean, that's seriously bold here in China. You think about the students that were, the whole thing in Tiananmen Square, which hopefully everybody's aware of what happened in Tiananmen Square. I'm not going to go into it here. If you're not aware, you can look up 1989, or I believe it was 1980, yeah, 1989, Tiananmen Square, And you can find out about the student protests and what happened to them. Now, those students, they weren't even talking about, you know, revolution. They were just talking about greater freedoms. And, well, as you know, here in China, greater freedoms, the opposite has been happening, actually. The government has clamped down more and more, but, yeah, they weren't even talking about revolution. And, well, you just look at what happened to them. And here there are people screaming about revolution. It's really shocking to hear. And, you know, people saying they're not afraid of the Communist Party. A lot of people, especially in Wuhan, which I am afraid is going to be locked down for a long time. They're not going to open that place back up. Hubei province, I don't know. I don't know if they're, what they're more afraid of, the virus or the unrest that they must know is coming. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to, you know, put their foot down to let people know that, you know, they're still in control. But I think, I mean, if it was me, I would be betting on that something is going to happen. They're going to do something to let people know they still have the power. Because that's what they did in Tiananmen Square. They made it very clear who was in charge and not to question them. But it's not just from Hubei province. There are business people that I know, Chinese business people that are calling out, you know, and especially when that doctor died, the one that was the whistleblower, they were calling out the Communist Party and saying, you know, they were responsible, and there was a lot of outrage. It quickly got shut up online, but yeah, this stuff is happening. It's remarkable. My friends and I have, well, I should be careful with my words. We've talked about this sort of thing, you know, how Chinese people feel in this kind of a society, and it's just remarkable to see how bold people are becoming over this virus situation. It's just something I mean, of course we talked about it, I can imagine it happening, but I never thought it would actually have people talking like that here in China. Most of the Chinese people that I know, they pretty much just go along with whatever the government says. You can usually tell, like, I don't know. I don't really want to get into it. Chinese people aren't really political. And I don't know. I don't know if that's entirely true. They just, you know, it's not like the United States where everybody's got a political party and everybody has an opinion about policy. That's just not something they worry about. They are more worried about work, you know, taking care of their family, making money, that sort of thing. And the politics thing doesn't really enter into the conversation. The most political that I've ever really had in a conversation was somebody asking me if I liked Hillary Clinton. And that was from a Chinese person, of course. And they don't know anything about it. They just think they're like TV personalities, you know. Which I guess in this case, maybe some of them are. But yeah, that's about as political as they get. They don't really know anything about the way it works. They've never voted in their lives. They've never seen, you know, political advertisements for elections. It's just not a part of this society as it is now. Now, I do want to say one thing that the central government has done is they've divided China up into areas of severity, I guess, for the virus outbreak. So if you're in places where they don't have, you know, like if the number of new cases has been reduced to a certain level, then they've said, you know, everything should be able to go back to normal right now. If you're in some of the places that are more severe, then there'll be some limitations, and it gets worse and worse until you get to the level of Hubei province where it's locked down and people aren't even allowed to come out of their houses. So I don't know. I've heard that. I'm not in an area that's really affected as much as some of those places, and yet here we are with roadblocks still, and no one's able to come out. So it might as well be Hubei province in a way, because, you know, the local town government doesn't let anybody go to the shopping market or do anything, and nothing is returned to normal. Maybe the village has, but people feel okay to go out and work in their fields. You can see behind me another field that's getting ready for the growing season. But within the town, if you come out, they'll still harass you and give you all kinds of trouble. You still have to sneak into the supermarket to get anything. It's a real mess. So yeah, it's not, again, the central government says something and then it doesn't happen. The people just ignore it and they continue on however they feel. And I don't know if that's because at this point they're still scared, or if the local authorities are just enjoying this little opportunity to exercise their little bit of power or whatever. But in either case, it hasn't returned to normal, not to any degree. It's still a mess. Now, maybe you've noticed I don't have my face mask on. Don't worry, I've got it in my pocket just in case somebody comes along on a tractor or something. So I'm ready to put it on. You know, I don't think there's anybody out here with the virus, but better safe than sorry. I don't want to end up with the coronavirus and get stuck in quarantine, because then I know I'm in trouble. If you do have, it's such a mess. They don't have enough equipment to take care of people. I think the worst off are the people with severe cases of the virus. There's really just too many of them. So I think that's where a lot of the deaths are coming from. They're just overwhelmed. They don't have enough oxygen for thousands of people, you know, and they're talking about over 70,000 cases in Hubei province. I don't know where they're going to find staff to be able to treat these people. I don't know where they're going to find, you know, enough oxygen tanks to be able to give people oxygen, or, you know, fever medication. That's where the deaths are coming from. And there are a lot more than what, I don't know, I've heard so many things. I think in Hubei province things are worse than we could ever imagine. I'm glad I'm not there. A long time ago I thought about going to Wuhan. It's really an interesting place. It's a big city. It really is, at least it was. I think after this it's probably not going to be so prominent anymore, but there was a time when I was interested in going there and interested in setting up some business out there, but well, I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because then I would be stuck in a real mess. I feel like, I don't know, it just, like I said, that's a nightmare scenario. Things are probably happening there that we can't even imagine, as I said. I'm just walking through mud again. It's not as bad as yesterday. I just happened to come across this sort of construction site. I saw a tractor out here yesterday. As you can see, I've managed to get over here toward another village. It looks like they were building or doing some work on this little dam or something. I guess that's why there's all this water in here. Maybe I'll walk across it. Hopefully it doesn't collapse on me and I end up in the water. I can swim pretty well, but I don't think that my phone or camera would probably survive the experience. But hopefully I'm not heavy enough to cause the dam to collapse. If a tractor could be sitting on it, then I certainly am not too heavy for it. You can see all the water behind me. I think you could see that yesterday when I was out recording. I'm not sure. I'm sure this is just for irrigation. Even our village, they used to have wells out here. I was going to have my wife on today, but she's at home. She's going to be on tomorrow. I'm going to put her on, I promise. You get to meet my wife. She was going to talk about how things were in China when she was a little girl. It's very different. Even when I first came here, everybody out here would have gotten their all of their water from a well. And now they get it piped in from the town. And most of them didn't even have an electric pump for the well. They had to actually, if you've ever seen an old-fashioned well with a hand pump, they had those. It was really interesting. They didn't drink the water. Don't worry about that. That was used for washing and things. But yeah, they've always, it's kind of changed. Back then, they used to have a guy go around with like a cart, and they'd sell boiled water, like really hot water. And he'd just come around and be shouting something out every day, and you go out and tell him, yeah, give me some, give me however many jugs of water you want. But yeah, that's changed. When was the last time I saw that? I think in the city, actually, in Hefei. There was a neighborhood I used to go to sometimes, and that would have been maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think that was the last time I saw that. Nowadays, people just boil their own water. Or they'll have some really, really high-tech filter thing in businesses that you can get, and you can have clean drinking water. It still tastes awful. It's better just to get the bottled water, in my opinion, but yeah, they do have those. If you're even thinking of moving to China, and don't worry, this whole virus thing will eventually be over, and then it'll be safe to come to China. But for now, well, like I said, the government said certain places can go back to normal now, but so far that hasn't happened. We'll see. When it does, we'll see what happens. I may have some other opportunities out here in China for business that I'm looking at. My wife may have some as well that she's looking into. So we'll see. I'm probably going to be in China for a long time still. I'm not going anywhere. Even with the virus thing, at this point, I think that China's just gotten a head start on the world. So if you look in Japan, they have a lot of cases. I think that they're going to be looking at a much, I don't know how they're going to contain it. I haven't heard of anybody or any localities being put in quarantine, so I'm afraid that outbreak is probably going to spread. Wherever you are in the world, I guess it'd just be smart to get ready. Hopefully China is able to take the brunt of whatever this is, and hopefully it doesn't spread widely in other places. But like I said, in Japan, they're already looking at, close to 1,000 cases. So, well, 700 and something, over 700 cases. I should be a little closer to the mark on that. But it doesn't sound good to me. It's certainly not looking good. In Singapore, people are getting sick that had no connection to China at all, which means that the virus is out there and people are spreading it, so I'd expect there to be more cases there. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. These are very modern societies, and hopefully they're prepared. Well, I've heard Japan say that they're not prepared for a large-scale outbreak. But I'm not trying to scare people, don't worry. Well, take precautions. Even if you're in the United States or Canada or wherever, you think it's a very orderly society, very modern. Believe me, so was China. And look how things have degraded. Just be a little bit prepared, just in case you have to go a couple of weeks or something without being able to go to the store. Just be prepared. And hopefully it doesn't come to that. But I've seen it come to that here in China, so I know it's possible. And I never imagined myself in a situation like this, but here I am. So again, my recommendation, just have yourself prepared to be able to survive a couple weeks without having to go to the store. Or if the power goes out, like I said, we've been having a few power outages out here. Don't rely on, refrigerated foods. Make sure you've got something that can last without having to be refrigerated. But again, at this point, I really feel like, China's just got a head start on everybody else. So when things do calm down and I'm able to go somewhere, if I decided to leave and go somewhere like Europe or somewhere, and my purpose was to try and get away from the virus, at that point it'll have already moved on and I would just be running out ahead of it to get hit by the wave again. So maybe I should clarify that. So it'd be like if a wave came, right? And I was offshore and I managed the wave past me, and then to decide, well, I'm going to swim on ahead to get out ahead of the wave again, and then just get hit by it again. Well, maybe my metaphors are not working out so well, but you get the idea. At this point, I think I'm better off just staying in China. Hopefully, well, we'll see what the fallout is from all of this. I'm sure that the Chinese government is well aware of the situation. Like I said, I'll be waiting to see what they do to reassert their authority, to get the local governments to come back in line, and hopefully Hopefully nothing too severe. But it would be nice if things could be back to normal. And I'm not saying I'm against, you know, people having more freedoms and all of that. I would love that if they could. I would love it if they got rid of the barriers on the internet that make it so difficult for me just to upload these videos. And, you know, if they just trusted the Chinese people that they're not going to go crazy when they get online and read things, you know. At some point, you have to just trust that people can work things out for themselves. They can know what's true and what's not. And I don't know, maybe that's what they're afraid of. I can't say, but like I said, I'm a guest here. But at some point, you just have to let people figure things out for themselves. And I think that most of the people in China would be very happy with the level of wealth that they've been able to achieve just in such a short time. And they might not want to rock the boat. And if there are others, well, maybe they can, I don't know. Like I said, they would already be getting more freedom if they got rid of the barriers on the internet and censorship. It'd be interesting to see privately owned news outlets, for example. But, well, I think that would clash with the type of system that they have in place here. I should be careful. I'm getting into the political stuff, and I probably shouldn't do that. But, well, I'm an American, so you know where I stand. Freedom of press, freedom of speech, all of that. That's kind of the way we're raised. And you'd be surprised to find that here that's a very alien thing. Well, kind of. Sometimes people don't realize just how controlled they actually are. A lot of Chinese people, you know, if you're having a conversation with them, they're not afraid to criticize the government when talking with you. So they think they have, you know, in their minds, they don't know, like, obviously they know that you don't go to Beijing and go into Tiananmen Square with a big banner protesting the government. And I think a lot of times they're shocked when I tell them I can walk up to the White House with a big sign saying I hate Donald Trump, and they're not going to come out and arrest me, you know. I'm not going to get banned from the internet. It doesn't happen. That probably shocks a lot of people here, but, you know, for the most part, it's not like they're going along, you know, praising the government, or they don't have pictures of Xi Jinping in their houses that they're bowing down to, you know. It's not the same as like North Korea or something like that. So in a way, they are a pretty, they're not like I said, I'm getting too much into the political spectrum here, so maybe we'll back it up. We'll just talk about other things. I don't want to get this to be a big political channel or something. Now, you know, without intending to, I've ended up in the exact same place I was yesterday. I'm at the end of that little road with nowhere else to go. So I guess now I'm just going to start walking back. Maybe I can find somewhere new to go. It looks like somebody's coming over here now. If you look behind me, here comes a little cart. Unless they've turned off. Nope, he decided not to come over here. He saw me. They're going somewhere else. Wonder what they're up to. Probably working in the fields, which is what people would normally be doing at this time. I'm really glad they're not stopping them from doing that. That would be incredibly short-sighted if the local government decided to stop them from working in the fields. I think China's made that mistake before, a long time ago. You've got to grow food, especially with a population the size of China. There has to be food. And, well, that looks like the farmers are out here working on producing that food. So hopefully there won't be any food shortages. No food shortages. Wouldn't you know it, I broke the stick I was using. Not literally a stick, but the thing I was using to hold the camera. Luckily it didn't fall. That would have been a disaster. Well, it's in a case. Hopefully it would have been okay. I just wouldn't tell my wife. Oh, now she's heard it. Now she'll question every time I tell her I didn't drop the phone or anything. Oh, are you sure? I remember what she said in the video. Nah, it didn't fall. Fortunately. That would be an expensive mistake. Oh, you know what makes me wonder? Why are they making all the phones and stuff out of glass these days anyway? You know, of all the things. Well, I guess other materials are just as brittle. But, you know, glass has a tendency to shatter. It's so expensive to get it fixed, too. I remember I had a Galaxy Note 8 a little while back, and yeah, I dropped it like 3 times. Never ever break the screen on these phones, let me tell you. The back was, I mean, that was annoying enough. It's like $100 to replace the back of the phone. You break the screen, you're looking at $400 or $500. Not a good thing. Not cool. Not cool at all. And then, of course, it'll never work the same again. You try to use like the S Pen or something on it, and it just, there's always some kind of a glitch or something. But yeah, I didn't drop it, so fortunately, nothing is broken. The worst is if I drop this thing. Boy, you broke the lens. Oh, yeah. Thankfully, that's never happened. My son likes to get a hold of it. That's the one thing I worry. He gets a hold of it. He doesn't care. He'll try to take his photos, you know. He's only 2. And if he gets bored of it, he'll just toss it aside and laugh as he does. You know, that's his way. But yeah, nothing broken. Just the stupid stick that was holding it up. Well, wouldn't you look at this? I have managed to find my way into the cemetery area. The as I called it, the village of the dead. It might be a little disrespectful to say it that way, but wow. By accident, I find myself here. Maybe I was thinking maybe I'd show you some of the portraits that they've got on the sides, but I think I'm going to just not do that. And, well, let me see. I can turn this way, and if you look on, not these close-up ones because they're facing the wrong way. Those in the distance, you'll notice some little squares that probably look like windows. In those little window-looking things, that's where the portrait of the person that that shrine or grave is for. So, there, now I showed you guys. And I'm going to see my way out of this cemetery because I don't usually frequent cemeteries. Usually only to visit the graves of passed on family members, grandparents, that sort of thing. And since none of mine are here, I think that I will be moving on. Well, I'm trying to find my way out of this place, but as you can see, it's much bigger than I expected. Everywhere I look is it's a grave. I've got actually people here visiting some of the graves. Yeah, this is a Chinese grave. This one's a newer one. The older ones, as I said, are usually just like a circle of brick or maybe concrete with some trees growing out of them. Obviously from a different time. But as I said before, I'm not a person who frequently visits cemeteries, so I'm going to move along. I don't really want to be hanging out amongst the dead. Okay, in the last video, somebody asked what they were growing here, and I said I would try to get up close to these trees to see what kind they were. And to be honest, this is as close as I can really get, and I have no idea. I can't look at the bark and tell they don't have any leaves on them, obviously, so I don't know. If you can look at the bark and you can tell, then I guess you can let everybody know, but as far as for me, I don't even know if they're fruit trees or if these are just going to be trees they grow up to sell and place somewhere as part of some sort of landscaping thing. China is pretty good at their landscaping stuff. They will take a street that looks like it's just totally barren, and the next day there's a line of large trees with leaves, and it's really something. So I don't know, maybe that's part of that sort of thing, but then again, as I said, I have no idea. Whew. It sure stinks over here. I think it's this behind me. Some kind of bird thing, or is it some kind of sewage? I don't know. Maybe they've dumped sewage in here to fertilize the soil, but I'm moving away from this. Oh, there's that solar panel that I saw the other day. Boy, I've come full circle. Now just to walk back home, and I think that's about all I've got for this video, so until next time, I'll have to get another stick thing out to hold the camera, and I guess we'll see you then.